Just the terms, because we were human beings before we were enslaved. Yes, so we were enslaved Africans. Secondly, in my geno pool, I'm also Amerindian. So prior to them bringing Africans from Africa, one of the many times large African populations left Africa, there was the massive genocide of my grandfather's people in the Americas. Roughly 80 to 100 million. Yeah? Plus, depending on what figures, whether you listen to the BBC One figures or Channel 4, there was the destruction of Indian cotton production. So if you listen to BBC One figures, there was the starvation of 9 million Indians. We're talking East Indians. We listen to Channel 4, 22 million. So before all of this could be, they had to destroy other areas. How we refer to that as what we call the extending of global white supremacy back then in the 20th, 19th century, going in. But if you go back further from my grandfather's people, you had to this complete destruction of a people, culture and civilization in the Americas before all that could have started. So that's also, yeah? And just remember this here, this thing is called Revealing Histories. Revealing Histories started in Ruskin College, Oxford. 6 to 8 years ago, they have national, international conferences on, well, wait a minute, history is exclusive. We have to start being inclusive, socially, culturally, academically. Of course, the education world said we have to bring in cultural inclusion and ethnic inclusion in our curriculum, legally. And so the national curriculum was changed. I do know, because I've worked with many museums nationally and internationally, they were then forced to. So when I saw Revealing History, oh gee, they got to allow some other stories in rather than what I call the elite white middle class. He gave me control of what stories are told. So today is that attempt, even though I have many issues with this attempt, as to the advertisement of today, for example, how inclusive culturally and socially was that as to the audience. Yeah, and that's due then to institutionally, no individuals, because it's not about blame, it's about institutionally, how then is this as allowing people to know and bringing people involved and getting those excluded groups within your community involved. How's the museum done that? Since I remember when I came to the meeting, no one said about filming, it was never mentioned to me. That, for example, we can go on after examples of how you're trying to be more inclusive, but in practice, institutionally, leaves many questions to be desired and raised. Okay, next.
And it's very true, and certainly one of the things that we recognise, and that's partly why we've worked as a partnership, is that the 8 museums are in different places, have different audiences, have different experiences of trying to work more with particular audiences to bring in inclusion. And things don't change overnight. And, I don't think any of us, would think that they do. So it's about taking first steps and hoping that you then continue that.
And I can give you written black and white of reports from this museum in which I was involved in. So it's been a long time coming, don't you think?
Yeah, I would agree, but this is not the only area where you could say that. So let's just be positive and say we're doing something today.